Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So we're joined by a guest.
Yes, we are. Bronwyn of, oh my God, Dolce. I was going to say Dolce and Gabbana, Dolce's Legacy. And I'm really excited to have you on because I've been following you for a while. I love your content, and we're just going to have a really good conversation because I have questions. But Erin usually says this, but I'm going to take it from her for once and just say, we always like to start with a background story. So tell us, how did Dolce's legacy start?
Okay. So, Dolce was my pediatric hospice therapy canine. He worked with children that were terminal cancer. It took us a really long time to get there. He was my reactive guy who, we lived in a very small town and he could hear the UPS guy coming down the street. I mean, we had 4 streets. It's not like the town was very big, but the UPS guy would come down and they would just like football our packages onto the porch. He went through 4 double pane windows. Oh. I was told I had a pit bull. Like, you got a pit. And then this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I didn't have a pit. I had a Staffordshire Terrier mixed with a lab. It's where he got his height from and everything. And so I thought, okay, well, I need to protect him from the rest of the world. That's how I'll keep him safe. Well, I knew nothing of, I'd had border collies. Hello. So I got him into training and this is where we ended up. So, fast forward to, we were living in Isla Morada in the Keys and he started this hacking and we started the very first episode. He stopped breathing. He could barely breathe. And then he stopped breathing. LARPAR episodes. So basically they're gulping for air to the point that they're suffocating to death. Started learning about diet and inflammation and things like that. And we started him on CBD and THC and kratom and changed his diet from kibble to raw. And we went from 3 and 4, 5 episodes a week to 1 in 6 months. We moved back from Isla Morada back up to New Jersey, where my husband is from, and he started limping. So I just chalked it up to the cold weather, the weather changes and things like that. And the limp went away. A couple months later, the limp came back. So we finally had gotten into our house and took him in. And he was diagnosed with a very aggressive osteosarcoma. His entire right shoulder was hollowed out. And it would be one fall and it would be the end. We could barely afford to breathe at that time because we had just made this huge move and into this house and we were just getting this reestablished. And we went into the vet's office and I remember her asking her, can I take some x-rays? And I was like, yeah, how much are they? Like that was my concern. And she was like, I want to get one. Girl, she took 86 x-rays. She goes, I just needed to know exactly what we were looking at. Mm-hmm. She took x-rays of the shoulder and the rest of the arm and the lungs, and it had already metastasized. She gave me 2 weeks and I got roughly about 3. And I remember her asking me in the room, what can I do for you? Tell me one thing I can give you. And I told her that I want to walk into the house again and see that the big happy smile just one more time. We proceeded to go home with medications, all of the fun stuff that we all love. And we went to the local pet store that knew us, and I walked in there just in tears, and it's like, I just need stuff. Like, I don't even know what I want. I just need stuff. I walked out of there with 2 completely large bags full, and I spent $20. Like, that's all she charged me. He got puppy cannolis and puppy cookies and these massive toys. Like, it was just everybody that ever met him instantly fell in love with them. When we left the vet's office that day, and it was Pet PT out of New Jersey, Cherry Hill, and even the physical therapist out of the pool got out of the pool, came up, put him on a stretcher, and like we were walked out. We were walked out by 6 of them to put him into the car, and they gave us a $150 help him up harness. Like, they treated him like a king. So we got home, and I still have one of the pictures that turns out when you are diagnosed with cancer, all of mom's healthy bullshit goes right out the door. Because he got French fries and he got a cheeseburger. And that is, food is love for us, for a lot of us. It's how we appreciate. So that's what we did. And I was already in the middle of my nutritional courses and my bachelor's at that point. I didn't know about canine cancer. I didn't know about homeopathy. You could have asked me what homeopathy was. I didn't even know what the word meant. Herbalism for dogs and cancer. I didn't know any of this stuff. I got a crash course, and I didn't get to use any of it with him. And so essentially, it was one of the shortest and longest 3 weeks of my entire life. About week 2, I walked into the house, and he's got that big, happy smile. And my life was complete. Like, it could have ended right there and I would have been fine. Because he couldn't jump and run and things like that, we took our mattress off the bed and put it in the living room floor and put his bed right there. So he didn't have to step or anything like that. And I have a tuxedo cat named Kira. She's never once left his side. That's her dog. And after he left us, Lap of Love is, in fact, they know who Dolce's legacy is, because that's one of the things that I do for my clients is I will, if you need me to, I will make those arrangements for you. It took me 5 times. And I'm so very grateful for the same woman, bless her heart, that answered the phone every time. She's very patient with me. But after Lap of Love came out, and even that veterinarian, like I said, he moved your soul. He was so loving and affectionate and kind. She was just absolutely in tears. And I remember when he left us, it was kind of this one last giggle, and we all just burst into laughter because she was going through the steps and telling us what she was going to do. And she's like, okay, this first one is just a sedation. It's going to allow him to take a nap, essentially. And I was like, okay. And we gave the sedation, and all of a sudden his little paws are going. He's running. And then he goes, and he lets out this huge snore, and we just all burst into laugh. And we were ready, and we let him go, and he left us, and we were just all in tears. Kira walked around the house for 3 months, mewling and looking for him. And that was like right after COVID. And to find a puppy or a rescue in a rental house, it was just absolutely, I was ready to go and steal a hyena out of the zoo, guys. Like, my house was so deafeningly loud. Like, and if you've ever lost a dog and you just have the one, it is so just, the silence is just so loud. And so I ended up hooking up with a rescue, and that's how we got Luna. And going through nutrition and everything else, because Luna came to me with an ACL injury, mastitis, and heartworm positive. And I fixed all of that with herbalism and homeopathy and got her an ovary sparing spay. Now she's my blue and white pit bull terrier, and she has mast cell tumor. It just kind of like, how life comes full circle, and that's where I think I'm at. And so that's how Dulce's legacy came to be is we all know at the very beginning of this that we made 101 mistakes, right? Like Dulce was on 3 different kibbles. I was a good girl. I vaccinated every year. I did this, I did that. The only thing I didn't stay up to date on was flea and tick. Like that's the only thing I didn't do in heartworms, the pesticides and all. But yeah, that I wanted to make sure that other people, didn't they because there's so much misinformation out there.
Mhm.
And again, going back to, being with him in those last days, 2 a.m., your voices get really loud in your head. And who are you going to talk to? And so essentially, Dulce's legacy I became what I needed in myself or for
Mhm.
myself, for my clients. That's how Dulce's legacy came to be.
It's funny because whenever I see your post, when I first started following you, I, because I would see your post as I'm scrolling and I'm just like doing a scroll. I'm not liking, I'm not really reading, I'm just scrolling. And my first thought was that this has got to be the unluckiest person on the planet because
Oh,
all your dogs are dying. There's all these really heartfelt posts, and I was just sort of like, I don't want to read this because it's going to make me sad. But I'm like, this poor woman. And then one day I slowed down and actually started reading. It was just like, oh, oh, okay, I get it. But it's so beautiful because you write these posts as if, I mean, you're part of the whole family and you are writing the post. And it is really kind of beautiful to have someone who gets when you lose a dog. I think that's why one reason why I like my blogging is when I lost Sydney, gosh, even all the way back to when I lost Blue, I never felt alone. I had strangers reaching out to me. When I lost Rodrigo, that was my first viral post. It reached over 1 million people. And I went to, that was a year that probably a month later, I went to Feed Reel. And someone looked at me and says, "Did you have a dog that died named Rodrigo?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that was how they first discovered Keep the Tail Wagging, was because of that post. And I never realized how many people that impacted. So it's, for your clients to have someone like you who feels the hurt the way they feel the hurt is pretty special.
it's funny too, because, and I'm just now, so I'm in the middle of a hospice and palliative care certification. It's called CHAP. And I didn't even know that there was a space for this. Like it has a name, because nobody wants to be called death doula. It just doesn't like roll off the tongue. It doesn't imbibe love and care and warmth. It's like a record being scratched across the record. Or I mean, the needle,
Hmm.
death doula. I didn't want to be called that. And I do so much more than just nutrition. So what am I? Like and I'll have people come in, and my dog has cancer, and it says you'll talk about nutrition and flea and tick and this. That's for my dogs that don't have cancer. But for my dogs that do have cancer, my consultations are, it's your hour. If you want to talk about the sunshine, we'll talk about the sunshine. It doesn't matter to me, but I want you to learn something. It's not going to be, just me talking, because I need information also. But the first couple of cancer dogs that I had come in, they were just, and it was part of the rescue that I went to for Luna. And I just absolutely, that was my thing. Like I was all in, like immediately. And I knew that I was going to lose them one day. And it's not that I'm okay with it or anything like that. I think I had somebody ask me the other day too, why do you do this? Why do you work with, I don't understand how you're able to get through this. Quite honestly, I think it's my own penance for not knowing what to do for him.
Or it's the gift that he gave you so that you could do it for other dogs.
He was the catalyst, and catalyst
Yeah.
can be a good thing or a bad thing. He was definitely my catalyst. My cancer dogs are everything to me. Like they're just, and it's not just cancer. I have neurological, I have heart dogs, I have kidney disease. There's not one specifically. They are hospice and palliative care, and they are literally my world. I have some families that hold me close to the vest and they're on the phone with me on a daily basis. And then I have some, families that I hear from every couple of weeks. And it's, I'm there for you. Like if you text me, you'll get a message. My job is not to, I'm not chasing after anybody. My clients, because I don't want to invade anybody's space. And I even spoke with you about that. I don't invade people's space. But the minute you text me, I'm going to be there. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m., or 12 in the afternoon. If you 911 me, I'm going to show up for my dogs. And whether it's, hey, I need to know if my dog can have kiwi. They're going to sell at the grocery store. Or, hey, we're spiking a fever. What can I do?
Mhm. And one thing I've noticed is, we live in a world right now where we have a lot of social media nutritionists. And God bless them. I have taken many courses. I'm about to take another course. I love learning everything that I can do to raise my dogs to be healthier. But there I've found is a difference between the education someone gets through an online course and the education that you have. So can you share your educational background as well?
Yes. So I have a clinical certification. This means it's literally a fancy way of saying I have a bachelor's. I have over 500 hours of cataloged nutrition courses for feline and canines. As far as, other nutritionists, and if you've read any of my content or listened to me, I'm extremely picky. Like I am notoriously picky. I am notoriously cruel when it comes to companies. And I've had some of my clients, but so and so does it this way or allows this food. So and so allows this food. That's nice. That's them. But this is what I've been able to put together as a platform. And this is why in the last 5 years, I've lost 5 mast cell tumor dogs, and 3 of them were to other conditions. It wasn't even to their cancer. So in 5 years, I've lost 5 mast cell tumors, and 3 of those, one was a heart condition, another one was anaphylactic shock, and the third one was a mast cell tumor mixed with hemangiosarcoma. So the other 2 that I lost, we were just late stage, and there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
As far as, and that's the thing is, I don't want to talk ill will of any other certifications or anything like that. It's one of the reasons why I founded the Holistic Companion Care Network, which is my group that has, nothing but certified nutritionists that I mentor. I want an above the bar standard for them. I thought about opening it up and continuously having and training, and I've learned, no, I'm not going to do that. I like the 12 girls that I have now. And if it takes me the next 5 years to get them to where I want them, then so be it. Everybody was kind of fussing because I just put them through the Dr. Judy Morgan's lab course on top of 2 other books. And every couple of chapters, they get a test and I grade it. And if they miss one, they get it back. I don't tell you what you missed. You got to
Oh,
find that. No, I'm not. I want the best of the best. I want people to be able to say, if you want factual information, you can go to this group. We don't allow just anybody to answer. You're not going to go into this group and get 40 different responses because 9 times out of 10, I am so picky. I'm going to hate and loathe all 40 of those responses. As a nutritionist, if you take that post, that is now your client as far as you're concerned. If they choose to do a consultation with you, great. If it is something simple as how do I deworm, great. And you can give them factual information. And no, sometimes you're not allowed to comment. And people are really unhappy about that. I don't know what to tell you. This is a group ran by nutritionists. Go to the other groups and you'll get 20 different responses. And then you can pick and choose what works for your dog there. But here we're going to ask questions. We're going to ask for history. We're going to ask for information that got you led up to this point. And that's what I see a lot of nutritionists not doing.
yeah.
We're not asking about the history. We're not asking about, okay, well, why does this dog have acid reflux? She's 5 years old and we've perfected the diet. We've done this. We've done this. Well, 3 weeks ago, I just found out because this dog was given to me from somebody else that we were heavily dewormed and we were on a very long stint of medication for giardia. And because we used metronidazole, because we used fenbendazole, it damaged organs, which instead of the stomach producing the correct amount of stomach acids, it's going in reverse. It's going up. It's not going down. So now we have to clear the chi and get things going downwards instead of upwards.
Mhm.
These are the things that people don't ask. They just go in there and, hey, my dog has acid reflux. Okay, well, here's 20 different suggestions.
Yeah.
Like, what is the role of social media with like pet health? Because I get really frustrated with a lot of this because sometimes I feel like people come to groups because they don't want to spend money to go to a vet. Like, I feel like sometimes it's like people looking for like a shortcut. And then there are some people who really do are curious and are like, oh, I don't have access to like a holistic vet and I don't want to give this medication because I've heard bad, like Apoquel or something, like, because I've heard bad things about it. Like, I'm just curious, what is the role of what we should be saying on social media about health conditions, especially when we're not veterinarians?
So each one of my girls, they're bonded, they're certified, and they also have insurance. They're all insured. Okay. I, on the other hand, I work with hospice dogs. I already know what the ending is. The only difference between what I'm doing is you were given 3 months and we got 3 years.
Well, I mean, you're working with you is one thing, but I'm just like when you just go in a Facebook group and are like, my dog has acid reflux, it's like it just feels like the Wild West sometimes, and it's like what I'm just curious, like on a broader perspective, like what are we doing? Like,
Oh, and that's exactly it. It does. And it's one of the reasons why I created the group, and somebody asked me the other day, well, if you're not going to mentor anybody else and you're going to have an HCCN network website, how are you going to make any money? It was never about that. I wanted information, fundamental information, good information that pet parents could go and resource and get that was going to help them, whether it's Reiki, whether it's food energetics, whether it's homeopathy, whether or not it's herbalism. I cherry picked each one of these ladies because they have a very specific field. I know about homeopathy and I know about herbalism, but I know it as far as I know it from my cancer dogs, for my kidney dogs, for my heart and my neurological dogs. I know my basics. I don't, does that make sense? But I have others in the group that blow me away. And I'm fine with that. There cannot be any ego in what we do. And if someone runs across something, then they can come and ask me, or they can come and ask this person. My God, Caroline, that's with Dr. Morgan's.
Yeah.
I am in her text messages all the time, making sure that, I'm having a hard issue with this. And am I right in thinking that this is the direction it's going and this is what it's called? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. It's okay to ask questions, but yeah, it's the Wild West. There is a holistic group the other day. Oh, it's okay. Go ahead and just give your dog Pepto. What? Like, let's not.
One of the things I appreciate about your group is that you'll say, like, hey, one of the admins is going to answer this. Like, it's not open for just like every random person's opinion, and I guess that's what I do like about your group compared to other ones where, I just feel like yeah, like you'll say there's 40 responses and they'll be like, give this, don't give this, and you're just like, I just don't know like what people expect to get out of this sometimes. It's like, just go to a vet if like, why are you taking like advice from strangers on the internet that aren't
I
vetted in
think
any way?
it's hard too, because it's like I think our community, love it or hate it, this community is the reason why Rodrigo lived to 13 and a half when his vet said he wasn't going to live past 3 years old. This community is the reason why we have this, podcast, and we do the things that we do. On the flip side, I think we all are so very passionate, and we don't realize that we are delivering so many mixed messages that people are afraid to act. So we're telling people not to trust their veterinarians. So who do you trust? And you go to these people who told you don't trust the veterinarians because they're just going to sell you kibble and they are only in it for the money and blah, 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 blah. So you go to these groups, and I see this. I did the same thing. When you're new to all of this, you basically start looking for the groups and you join. And I've seen people copy and paste their question into several groups, and you get so many different mixed messages. I mean, just even going to like raw feeding models where, the prey model, and this is total, generalization,
Okay,
but
this is
the prey
hard.
model raw, don't grind. Well, when I was new to raw feeding, don't grind your food. You should feed it whole. Do not feed vegetables. The barf model. Oh, it's fine to grind. You need vegetables. Vegetables are going to balance it out, but they don't really tell you what vegetables. And then you go over to rotational mono feeding, and they're like, you need to have a vegetable day and don't feed any fat because fat is, going to make your dog sick. And you need to have this many fasting days. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. And you get these people to come together. None of us are truly going to agree because we're all doing different things for our dogs and it's working. And we seem to forget that what's working for our dogs. Like, for instance, we interviewed someone last week where it was just sort of like, no, raw feeding is super easy. And then I was just like, but I've been feeding raw for over 10 years. So yeah, it's crazy easy for me to feed raw. For someone, I'm working with someone right now who's brand new to raw feeding. No, it's confusing, and they're juggling not only their dog's health issues, but the cost of raw and the sourcing. And is it balanced, or do I need to worry? Because that's the other thing. Do I need to worry about balance? Blah, 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 blah. And I think that people expect way too much from those groups because they truly do want to go to a group, get an answer. And it's going to be the same as if you go to a vet and the vet is stumped and they're not going to be able to really give you an answer. It's probably even worse because you're going to get 50 non-answers.
One of the things you were talking about as far as, so no, am I a complete and balanced person? No, I'm not. And I won't sell you a recipe either, because for me, we give a well-rounded diet and we rotate weekly to bi-weekly. And for me, vegetables and eggs and fish, those are our supplements. Those are the supplements and I'm very much a less is more person. I don't want to molest their bowls of all of these powders. The other day I had someone tell me that dogs don't have taste buds, and that's the reason why it's okay to put 20 powders. And it's like, no, sir, don't do that. you know? And we've gone too far to the left and we've gone too far to the right. Where's that happy medium? And my clients come to me with, they've been told you can't do this and you can do that. And my dog has cancer, so we can't have raw food. No. Or my dog is a cedar, they can't have raw. And that is one of my favorite myths, by the way, that a cancer dog can't have a raw diet. They eat feces and lick their butts.
Yes.
I guarantee you, clean, fresh, raw food, we're not going to worry about that, And so it's amazing that these people my heart goes out to them, and I tell each one of them, it is going to feel like I turn your world upside down for 2 weeks. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I can't fix this. Like I will be very open about the fact that I can't cure your dog's cancer. That's not what my job is. My job is to help guide you through this journey. And whether or not you see it as a journey, as a negative or a positive, I promise you, I will show you some positive points in it for you to highlight it and look at it as something that can be turned into a beautiful thing if you choose to. There's such a stigma about death, which there should be a stigma about death. But at the same time, hospice and palliative care, we don't talk about those things. We don't talk about aftercare. And those are the things that I want to normalize. I want to normalize that, I work the dog in front of me. I love intermittent fasting. My dogs know that anywhere between 12 and 8 p.m., their dinner's coming. You're not going to tell me when. I'll choose that. Thank you, sir. And then he'll go pester my husband. Like, they don't bother me. They know I'm not the weak link. And I can love intermittent fasting. I can love one meal a day, all day every day until I'm blue in the face. If it doesn't work for that dog, it just doesn't work for that dog. I've had 16-year-olds. I've transitioned to raw. And a couple of months ago, I had a 6.5-month-old puppy that I transitioned on to gently cooked because that is what her body required. Kind of like a birthing plan. We go in there, we have this plan, we have this idea of this is how it's all going to happen. And in 10 minutes, you're being wheeled into the emergency section because you're going to have emergency C-section at this point. So how do you tell people that, these things change? It's okay that plans change. It's okay to not come in with this hard and fast rule. Again, going back to the recipes, I don't do a recipe. I don't sell a recipe because, okay, if I sell you a recipe and those 3 proteins don't work, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I've been asked often to do consultations, and I do consultations, but they're free ones. Whereas like we can just talk about, what I do, and we can just talk, and then I send them your way. But it's one of those where I think that, when you were talking, I was thinking about Sydney, and basically the first dog that I had, my first cancer dog, the first dog that I basically had to watch go through the decline. And it was sad, but looking back, I'm so grateful for the experience because, gosh, it was me and her, and she was my dog, and she was taking care of me as much as I was taking care of her. And that experience also taught me, like what you just said, that, feeding a raw diet is really great for dogs, despite the diagnosis. So when Scout 6 months later was diagnosed with lymphoma, I already had a game plan. I learned so much from her, and I was able to apply everything I learned from her to Scout, everything that I learned from Scout, because he was with me. I was given 3 days. She stayed with me for 3 weeks. I was given 3 months with Scout. I had him for over a year and a half. And then all of that, I was able to apply to Rodrigo. And then, I mean, again, Rodrigo, I had him for an extra 10 and a half years after the vet gave me his diagnosis. And everything that I learned from those three dogs, I recently was able to apply to Zoe. And with each dog, it became effortless to make these adjustments and know what to do and to have conversations. And it's just crazy because like my veterinarians, they are so funny because when we were talking, we were having fun talking about Zoe's blood work and how great it looked. And I felt so proud of myself that, you know, my dog is healthy and I'm doing this, but it's based on everything that I've learned from each dog. So yeah, you know, it is a sad time and you can't talk anyone out of that experience and that emotion. But when you get past it and you can see all that you learned, especially when you're in the moment with a new dog, and it's like, oh, I know that like Zoe had a nosebleed. I knew not to give her CBD oil and I knew what to do instead. And just like it wasn't something that someone told me or that I Googled in the moment. It was just something that I had learned 5 years before with, or 4 years before with Sydney and a bleeding tumor. So anyway, I get it.
It's funny too, because, and I love my veterinarians. Some of them don't love me. And we're not all meant to be, kumbaya together. I've had veterinarians say that I am a thorn in their side, and I wear that badge proudly. I've had veterinarians tell me I'm not allowed to have their clients change to a new vet. That didn't work out so well in their on their defense, but whatever. And then I've had veterinarians praise me and tell me what an amazing job I'm doing. And that's everything to me. So, I want to work with vets. I want my owners to have a veterinarian. I want that support system. Either way, I'm coming along. So you can either choose to work with me in this space or not, because I'm going to be the one that's on the phone with this family at 2:00 in the morning. Not you, the veterinarian, me. And again, like I said, yeah, at some point, I don't have an X-ray vision. You call me up and you tell me, okay, this is what's going on. I don't know. We're going to have to go in. There's not any ego in what I do. I'm not guessing. I'm not taking the chance, because I wouldn't want anybody doing that with one of my dogs. So I'm sending you into the vet's office. And one of my moms, she lives an hour and a half away from a vet's office. And we spiked 105 at 10:00 at night. And I was able to luckily break it, because mom did not want to make that trip. And she gets very anxious in the car. We got very lucky. So, yes, I do. I love working with vets, and I love when we have a positive vet on board for us. I do. It's just not always the case. And a lot of people they don't trust what their vet says anymore. And I hate that too.
So when people come to you, are they already open-minded to things like making changes in the diet or to Chinese medicine? Or are they like just coming into this, like, I have no idea, and you're doing like all the education?
So if I can, I'm going to tell you about my Unity program real quick.
Sure.
And that will answer and go into that. So what my Unity program is it makes me available to my clients 24/7 within reason. I don't want to talk about fleas, ticks, and garlic at 10:00 at night. Just don't. If I'm on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast and it is 8:00 your time, please don't call me and ask me what kind of pork you're supposed to buy at the grocery store, because I'm going to be asleep. That is a question that we can do tomorrow. But if you need me at 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, I don't care what time it is, you're going to get to call me up, and I'm going to help you, whether it is your emotions and what you're going through or your dog. Okay. So If it has something to do with our cancer or our kidney disease or whatever it is with hospice and palliative care, if something is going on at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get to call me up and we're going to figure it out, or I'm going to send you into the vet's office. Again, like I told you earlier, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if those voices are getting really loud and you don't have anybody to talk to, you're going to call me up. We're going to go in the bathroom. We're going to cry it out real good. Then we're going to come and fix some tea. We're going to calm down, talk to them, get them comfortable. Usually we have Ignatia or some type of homeopath that helps them calm down. And then tomorrow we face the day all over again. Most of them, I am a last ditch effort. Like and I hate that. And I can't tell you how many times my clients have said, God, I wish I would have found you sooner. But with my Unity program, I want to be proactive and reactive. So if I have a family with 3 dogs, then I'm taking on all 3 of those dogs. We're going to be proactive with these 2, and we're going to be reactive with this dog. And I am with that family for the duration of that dog's life, whether that is 3 months or 6 years. I don't get any feathers in my cap for pushing your dog out the door and we only get 3 months. Trust me, I want those 3 and 6 years. And if I can get your dog there, we will. I've had clients come to me that are on a kibble diet and, doing the flea and tick pesticides and doing Apoquel and Cytopoint. And we had a mass. So we went in and we had it aspirated and they went ahead and gave us vaccines that day.
Mm.
So to answer your question, I have some that know that there's a different way that we could do it. I have some that have never heard of half the stuff that I use, or flushing the lymphatic system, or graviola, or apricot kernels. They don't know about any of that stuff, or THC or kratom, or any of that. Garlic. Like, you would be so surprised at how many are like, garlic is toxic to dogs. No, really.
Yeah.
Use that. It's okay. And here's why. And I'm one of those that if you go against the grain a little bit with me, graduating law school, research was my gig. And so I'm not just going to give you 1 or 2 articles. I'm going to give you like 20 so you can really understand I'm serious about this point. And half of them are going to be case studies and half of them are going to be, but as far as, yeah, I'm a last ditch effort. So it's not so much they're essentially ready to go all in no matter what. And any other person, yeah, absolutely could take advantage of something like that. Yeah.
I know that's how I was with Rodrigo. Once I got his death sentence, I mean, I went from raw feeding sounds a little crazy to tell me a little bit more about this raw feeding stuff you guys are talking about.
Like I said, I've been wrong twice when it comes to hospice. My palliative care and my hospice are a little bit different as far as viewpoints in the definition of them. I work with my palliative care up until the point that I tell you I am effectively putting you in hospice. If I tell you I'm putting you in hospice, I know I'm going to lose you in a week. And there's been twice that I was wrong about that. The other ones I have nailed it, and I don't know what it is, but it's just this thing that I feel. And I make sure that we're doing, one of the biggest things is I want to take you out of the Facebook groups. I want to take you off of Google. And I want you to not be a cancer dog mom anymore, but a dog mom again. And so I try to remove all of that clutter, all of that noise, all of the static, and have you be back in the moment with them, just to be in the moment. The Tilly Project is one of my favorite organizations, and it's called an end of life photography session. And what I was finding out is that my owners were waiting too long and they didn't feel good and they weren't happy photos, and that's not what I wanted. And so now every cancer consultation that I have that comes along, I explained to them, I want you to do this now. Do it while we feel good. And I don't call it an end of life. I want it to be a celebration of life. Think of it as a celebration of life photography session. You know, when we make the arrangements and I know that I'm going to lose that client the next day, I make sure that they have a celebration dinner or a celebration meal. And I don't care if it's chocolate cheesecake. I don't care if it's steak. I don't care. You let them have the shit that they've never been allowed to taste and take photos of it. Look at the smiles and the happy licking and the frosting on their muzzle, and remember that, and ingrain those memories into you. Feel them. And I had a lady that I lost her pup, and it was a natural death. And I told her, I was like, one day, you won't understand this right now, but one day it gets softer. And I was like, I know you don't quite understand what that means, but it gets softer. And 6 months later, she messaged me because I get it now. I understand. And because here I am, it's been almost 5 years after Dulce's loss, and I am still affected by it all the time. And with every loss that I lose out of my clients, I am right back there, you know.
I was gonna ask like how much emotional bandwidth this is on you and like how much like self-care you have to do in order to like be able to hold space for other people.
A couple of months ago, it was a lot. Um, at most I have ever lost at one time was 5, and that was last October. This past summer, there was a month and a half where I lost close to 13 dogs at once.
Wow.
And I ended up with compassion fatigue. And I didn't really think that that was like, I'd never experienced that before. I didn't know. Like I knew, but I didn't know. I learned quickly. I ended up like, I took a week and a half off. And I told everybody, it's like, don't message me, don't call me unless it's an emergency. Like, if it's an emergency, fine, but I don't want to. No, I need time. And again, I don't know why some of my clients, like I said, they hold me to the close to the vest, and I'm on the phone with them on a daily basis. I get poop photos, I get vomit photos, I get happy smiley faces, and I'm right there celebrating that roller coaster ride. Whether we're up or we're down, I'm right there. And then I have clients that, check in with me every couple of weeks, and that's fine too. For the ones that don't hold me close to the vest, I go into auto drive, and I'm there to support them. And yes, it hurts my heart. The ones that keep me close to the vest, Brian goes and gets Thai food, gets me a bottle of wine, he puts me in a bubble bath, and I cry it out because I'm right back there. I'm losing him all over again. And you know, one of the biggest ones that I remember, and she now owns KK's Paws. She's been with me almost 3 years. And her name is Lisa Mayer. She's my co-owner, in fact, with the Holistic Companion Care Network. She had a little girl that she brought to me. Her name was Carly. And she could have been Dulce's doppelganger. So immediately I was attached, like they could have been from the same litter. But she started limping one day, and I was like, I know that limp. It's like, I don't want to be right. It's like, let's just, what's the harm? Go ahead and take her in. Sure enough, after 4 different sets of testing, it was osteosarcoma. And my heart was broken. And she made me promise. She goes, you got to promise me you won't quit after this. It's like, I'm not going to promise you that. No, don't tough this one out with me. I'll win. But that was one of my hardest ones. And my husband came to me because we were so hyper focused on it. That's something else, with each client. Don't think that just because I've been doing this, that I don't learn something new. I learn something new all the time, and I'm happy to do it. But with Carly, one of the things that I changed is I don't do a bunch of powders into their food because she didn't like it. They don't like the taste of it. So I found tinctures, and it goes straight into their mouth, or they self-select to get it off their plate, and then they have their food and it's all theirs. But we were so hyper focused on her osteosarcoma, we didn't think to look at anywhere else in the body. And so we missed her hemangiosarcoma. And we lost her a month later to a bleed out. And I did. I wanted to quit. Like, I was so just. So I do. I have mine that just really kick my ass. And then I have some that, I go and I take a little bit of time to myself, and then I either have entirely too much wine, like I've already told Kim, or, here moving to Vermont, finally we get to go out into the woods and we go hiking and things like that. That's my new getaway. Somebody said to take origami, whether it be butterflies or hearts or dragonflies, and release it do the organic origami paper, but release it into the waterfalls that run on our mountain as a way of releasing. And I really love that. As far as my emotional state and things like that, I wing it just like everybody.
So before we let you go, I wanted to ask, for people who want to start helping people feed their dogs better, do you have any like wisdom advice that you would give to people who want to try and do this professionally? I mean, they ask me and I'm like, don't do it. Just go get a regular job.
Oh, goodness. Something that I push and teach my girls, because I'm notoriously cruel. Like, with what I allow in my happy, healthy dogs, people allow sweet potatoes. I don't. Like, I'm the mean one. I'm the mean auntie. And I'm okay with that. But, meeting them where they're at, that is so important for me to emphasize with clients, that my job is not to push you in one direction or the other. We're all gently cooked. My job is to meet you where you're at. As far as a professional or this as a profession, I don't necessarily have an answer, because yes, I would love to see more people, but I also want to see ethical.
Mhm.
I want to see more ethics. I want to see, more substantial education.
Yeah.
Go all in. Spend the money on an actual education. Don't just do a couple of week program. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And be a part of the community and be a part of the solution. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I will tell you, if you choose to go into this field, it is one of the most rewarding I have ever, like, I love what I do. I love it so very much. There are no words to how much I love what I do in hospice and palliative care.
That's so amazing. I love it. I always know that I'm I have a friend who owns a raw food company in Southern California, and she has a medical background. And over the years of hearing her stories of working with her customers, because she can talk to them about health and diet, that really taught me how important it is not to divorce the two. That, the most, what would be insignificant to me symptom could really be spotlighting a health situation, but I don't have the knowledge or experience to be able to say that, which is why I've never wanted to dive into that field, because I truly, truly believe that I would be lacking the medical part. And the story that always comes to mind is she was talking to one of her customers, and they mentioned that the dog had been coughing. And to me, I was just sort of like, oh, well, did the dog eat some grass and it was caught in the throat type of thing? Whereas to her, that signified a heart situation. So she told them, okay, this is what I need you to do, and got all that squared away. And I'm listening to her tell me the story, and I was just like, I had no idea that that was a thing. And so my worry would be missing so many cues like that, because I don't know the questions to ask and they don't know what to tell me. And I'm so focused on thinking that I can treat everything with food that I'll just miss out on other issues.
See, and I won't work with you unless I have a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like I need an actual diagnosis. And well, okay, let me rephrase that. I say that, and then you would be surprised at how many cases I have come in that my vet said it's cancer, but we don't know what kind.
Mm.
It's like, okay, so my job is going to be to drop inflammation, flush the lymphatic system, support the immune system. And, okay, if it's a bump or something like that I can see and look at, there's a couple of different things we can tell if it's mast cell tumor or, something else. And it's difficult in that area. But as far as, yes, I have consultations that come in and they just want to switch from a kibble diet to a raw diet or to a gently cooked. And I lay all of it out. I tell them how to transition, and that's that. And then you have others that come to me, and yes, because I have a format that everybody has to fill out. I want to know what your dog's on. I want to know the medications. I want to know the history. I want to know what we're eating. I want to know A to Z. So no, it is so important that we get the whole information, because like that dog that I was talking about earlier with the acid reflux, if I hadn't known to ask what happened the first and second year, we would have never figured out why this dog has acid reflux the way it does now.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, okay, well, this dog had Giardia. Okay, what kind of medication did we get? And we know what fenbendazole does. We know what metronidazole does, not only to the other organs, but we also know what it does to the stomach acids because of the organs that it affects. And this is just, and where are you going to find that information? Repetition. That's,
Were you ever able to turn it around, the acid reflux?
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
She's an active case right now.
Nice.
So, yep, we're in the process of working on that. She's been with me almost 4 weeks. And I just figured out all of the story 2 weeks ago. So
wonderful.
But I'll update you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for all that you do.
So much. And I'm so honored. And I will have to say, you were one of the first people I read, because you got to remember, I have only been on this platform for 5 years? And you were one of the first people I read. I read your cancer information, one of your blogs that has cancer.
Oh,
and I remember looking at a photo, and you had all these books, and I was like, oh my God, she knows so much. So don't dismiss yourself, babe. You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
I do. I really appreciate you guys letting me come on here and ramble.
Thanks for your time. Until next time.
See you guys later.